All right. Hello and welcome to Osquery Office Hours, February 25th, 2025. 2:25. It's kind of cool. I guess I'm filling in for Steph in the usual role of running the meeting. And we're a small crew today, so we'll probably run through it quickly. And so diving in, we've got announcements and highlights. Anyone have something that you'd like to mention? I think that we already talked about in the last meeting. It was right before the last meeting that the 5.16 release was cut. There's an agenda item for that below, so we'll come back to that. Then questions, PRs, etc. Micah, I know you've got something.
Yeah, so I've got a PR that I put up recently, 8554. I can also send it here. So basically the intent is just to add support for scheduled queries to run as soon as the scheduled runner initializes. So I've just added a new field to scheduled queries called startup priority, which if set to the non-default value will then allow the queries which are defined to run in ascending priority order as soon as the scheduled runner starts. And then after that, they just continue running off their regular intervals.
All right. So okay, so this is when Osquery starts up, the queries will run. Is it also when Osquery receives a new config? Like, does this make the query run immediately the first time that the host receives it from the server?
Yeah, this is as soon as the pack runs the schedule. Anytime the pack runs the schedule.
So anytime a pack, when Osquery starts or when the pack updates.
Yeah.
I mean, on principle, no objection to me. I've also wonder, like, did you test, like, if I change one query in the pack, does that make all the queries rerun? Like, did you test those kind of semantics as like, were those kind of things considered?
I should actually test that. I did not specifically test that condition.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean,
can do that.
it sounds useful to me, and I do, it's something that has often been considered. If I remember, like Collide in the launcher has something that sort of tries to do the equivalent of this.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you're trying to move away from that.
So basically, yeah. We kind of had this agent boot priority where we would have our checks run in a certain priority order whenever the agent restarts. But this would allow us to actually run certain high priority queries right at the start. Some of the intent as well as like we have some, we're also wanting to look at eventually creating some views for some of our, we have some like repeated, like create some views as soon as Osquery initializes that we can then reuse in our checks, like human users and things like that, where we just grab certain users. And so that's part of this intent as well.
That makes sense. Okay, so you're saying like you need the queries that define the views to run first before any other queries run that might use the views.
Yep.
I mean, the motivation makes sense to me. I know, I mean, I think it's worth mentioning, like, the reason why queries don't run at the beginning is because, like, we didn't want to have Osquery, like, use a bunch of resources on the system right as it starts up, and also to avoid things like thundering herd when, like, a bunch of servers came online, and, like, would they all be running the same query at the same time if they came online at the same time without like the schedule splay being run. But I'm not mentioning that to be an objection to this at all. I'm just like pointing it out as context in case anyone here is not familiar. Although I think maybe all of you are probably familiar. I mean, it sounds good to me. Like I can take a look at the code. Does anyone have concerns?
The only other additional thing I'm remembering about it is there's a watchdog delay at the start. Well, one can configure it, but it's on by default, which basically, yeah, for like the first minute, I believe, the watchdog is not monitoring Osquery, so anything can happen there, basically.
That is a great point. Might be useful to note that or like refer to that in like I saw you updated the docs, which thank you. Referring to that, like where you've documented startup priority, I think would make a lot of sense. And thank you, Stefano, for pointing that out.
I don't recall if that delays the schedule or not, but yeah. Because what can happen is one of the things that happen at startup that might require even more than 1 minute, and often it's not enough. It's actually RocksDB purging and merging journals. Often this happens when Osquery has already crashed due to, well, not crashed, has been previously killed by the watchdog due to ingesting too many events too fast, and so RocksDB already was consuming too many resources, or in general there were too many events coming in, and so yeah.
Interesting for context on that. Thank you. I'm just kind of seeing it quickly. From what I can tell, it really is quickly, like in the code, it really is just delaying when the watchdog starts actually doing anything. It's not delaying the running of a schedule or anything like that. It does seem to me that it might be nice in the future to move towards like having, you know, if we know that it's specifically that RocksDB case that you're pointing out, Stefano, that's like the issue at startup, then potentially like letting that complete before the schedule starts running or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to, in fact, to add maybe eventually moving everything, because again, I think that the watchdog delay is there for RocksDB and anything else that may happen, obviously, at startup. But I don't know that queries were it. So having them delayed equal to the watchdog delay time, maybe, or well, even I think how you were saying, if I understood correctly, delaying everything until a certain operation we know it can happen at start finishes. Especially, I mean, mostly because when we see that happen, then Osquery keeps at the point keeps crashing and keeps getting killed, because 1 minute is not enough for RocksDB. It stands to reason also that the user could increase that value, but at the same time, I mean, it doesn't always happen that RocksDB has to do that work. So right now, so if the logic is to always delay the schedule equal to the amount of the watchdog delay, then you're also delaying always when queries start, and you have a hole in your security, in your view, when those query starts. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, there's a bit to balance there.
I guess I'm thank you. That's all really
nothing
great
that
context.
matters this PR, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just documenting it so
Mhm.
that people are aware that there's a potentially an interaction there, and then moving on for now, like, seems good to me. And I'm happy to review the PR, and I will take this to our team at Fleet and let them know that this functionality is coming, and it might be something that we want to support in the configurations.
Cool. I'll also go ahead and test more deeply around the watchdog delay with this PR.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like it's ready to review now, or we should be holding off for you to do the other tests that we just discussed.
I'll run the other test today and update the docs, and then once I have that, it would be fully ready to review.
Okay, just ping me when it's fully ready, Micah.
Okay, should I do that in the Osquery core?
Sure, anywhere. Code review channel, core, DM
Okay.
me, whatever.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cool. Anyone else have questions, issues, PRs that you want to discuss? All right. Then Osquery 5.16. So yeah, it was cut about 2 weeks ago. Fleet has been testing it for about 2 weeks now. I just looked and it's running on about 20 of our hosts internally. No issues there. I'd be ready to call it stable. I saw, I'm guessing it was Seth who wrote this. Client has started testing but has not validated it yet. Mike, I don't know if you could provide any more context there. Like, do you guys want to do more before we declare it stable?
Yeah, so we've just been running it on our internal devices. Haven't had any hiccups or anything like that. So I'm not sure where Seth is at in terms of calling it validated, but everything's been stable so far for us.
Okay, I guess I'll just open up a thread in core. I mean, since it seems to be usually Collide and Fleet who are doing the kind of pre-release testing these days, I'll just open up a thread in core, ask Seth if there's anything else he wants to do, and maybe we're ready to move on to calling it stable. And or as we can hear from Seth what else he wants to do. Does that sound good to folks?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay. Cool. All right. Anyone else have other things that you'd like to take a look at the moment? Or shall we wrap it up? Okay, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. See you.
So,
Bye.